One of the most toxic women alive right now is out on the loose without paying any price for her insanely crazy crimes. She could be in your country right now, finding her next victim.
I'm gonna go to Australia for a bit, and then to Europe, and then I'm gonna go probably South America, Central America.
Her name is Sofani. She poses as a healer to lure her victims and then introduces them to her entirely made-up friend, River. This is her using voice modulation, pretending to be River.
You know, in the end, you can think whatever you want.
The deeper and deeper you go, you realize this is one of those stories that you think can't get any worse, but it does, again and again. So this is Allison, just one of Sofani the healer's victims. Allison goes on to have like 2 healing sessions with Sofani, and then she asks her if she's seeing someone, and she said yes.
I'm gonna put that out there right at the beginning of this video. He was an amazing man. She immediately told me that he had bad energy around him. And this is right after I opened up about being in abusive relationships and being scared that I'm not gonna be able to like move forward from it.
And she tells her that the guy she's dating,
that the group of people that he was a part of were bad, they were known for raping women.
But Sofani, she comes and plays rescuer. She's like, the guy you're seeing, he's Satan, but there's this guy I know. His name is River Castro. He's an ex-client of mine, and I just sense, I have this feeling, right, that he would be a really good friend for you.
She's a very well-known as a spiritual person. She's a part of all these different communities. She was doing a bunch of charity work. Like, she seemed very legit in what she like was actually doing.
So Allison follows River on Instagram. They start talking and they bond over the fact that they both have anxiety, and he becomes her sort of like wellness expert friend. But to Sofani, River was a Sofani validator, so to speak. Like, Allison would go for sessions with Sofani where she's warning her about the guy that she's dating. River would be texting her and saying, oh, you should totally listen to everything Sofani says to you. She healed me and all that jazz. Meanwhile, in her own life,
I went on a weekend getaway with the guy that I was dating, and I had an amazing weekend with him. I move in with this guy for the last 2 weeks of my Bali experience, and everything is fine.
Now this is when things start to get really up. Acting as River, she tells Allison that Sofani has gotten into an accident and that she should check on her. So naturally, Allison goes to check on her healer friend. And that's when Sofani uses the sociopath 101 strategy of instilling fear in her. She tells her that now that she's moved in with this guy, she can see and sense that he's gonna turn abusive.
She was saying, get out, I don't have a good feeling. She was sending me messages like basically scaring the shit out of me. I don't think you guys understand how scared I was that night from this man. Even though he had done nothing wrong, I was terrified of who he was, and I'm not that smart with my past relationships, so how am I supposed to trust myself with this? She's just trying to protect me. She's just trying to keep me safe.
Then the worst happens. Allison moves into the villa next to Sofani's, just like Sofani wanted. As soon as Allison moves in, Sofani starts to give her juices every morning, and she gets really sick, okay? She goes to the doctor, gets antibiotics, and then her wellness expert River friend also starts to send her probiotics.
I start to take them and I immediately start feeling weird. When you take things like types of drug substances, they mess up your dopamine levels, they mess up your serotonin levels. So my depression was coming back, and I'm not saying that there were drugs in these pills, but I'm not saying that they weren't. I didn't leave my bungalow for the last week of my Bali experience because I was so terrified, fearful, anxious, and depressed.
2 incidents happened that at the time Allison couldn't make sense of, but now that she knows what Sofani has done to so many other victims, she finally understands. The first is,
he would try to
she means River,
get me to go into her house at night. He basically told me one night to go wake her up so he could talk to her. Basically trying to get me into her room at night. This is her telling me to come to her room, pretending she is sleeping. Do you know how disturbing that is? I went with her and one of her friends to dinner, and we had 2 glasses of wine. We got back to Sofani's house, and I was so absurdly sick and I couldn't understand why. And as soon as she walked into the back to use the restroom, I literally had a feeling in my gut to just go to my bungalow and lock the doors. So that's what I did.
And this whole time, Sofani's desperately trying to reach her and tell her to come back to her place, saying that if you're sick, I'll be the best person to look after you. Luckily for Allison, she managed to escape Sofani because it was time for her to leave the country. But this isn't even the worst of what this woman has done. It's like, you know how when you have a hungry predator whose prey manages to escape and they get even hungrier and more determined to dig into their next prey and rip them apart? That was what unsatisfied Sofani did to her next prey, Josefina. It gets worse. Josefina became friends with Sofani, who then introduced her to her fake friend River again.
Him and I started texting very intensively and intimate. He also wrote beautiful letters. We became very intense. We got into fights. We had phone sex. We were falling asleep together. We woke up together. And then he started also posting me on Instagram in his stories. He even left me 2 times a package. The first contained 2 vegan brownies, and the second contained a book, a rose crystal, supplements. He even wanted to take me the supplements every day because he said they were very good for the digestion system. Sofani was all along in the picture. Her and I started becoming very close friends. She always used to call me and calm me once I got into a fight with River.
And then she also started having healing sessions with Josefina.
I felt pretty weird sometimes, and I told her, wow, I feel so weird, like I did acid on microdosing or something.
This whole situation goes on for like half a year.
Luckily, my brother and one of my best friends, Sophia, was suspicious and did investigations without telling me.
And they were the first ones to find out that there's no River Castro. Most of his pictures on Instagram are taken from an existing Instagram account of some guy called Beto Malfacini.
Sofani is into girls, and she obviously developed feelings. She manipulated my brain in an unimaginable degree.
When Josefina confronts Sofani, hear what she says.
I didn't do anything. The only thing I did was just help you when you needed help, and that was it. In the end, I don't become friends with clients and stuff for reasons and stuff.
And then when she confronts River, he starts to get angry.
Do you want me to send you the fucking email?
Can you imagine finding out that the person that you've been dating for the past 6 months, the person that you're madly in love with, that you shared so many intimate moments with, that they don't even exist? Do you know what that does to a person's mind?
My brain, my mind, my trust is totally out of order. My cognitive abilities are confused, even people sitting in front of me right now.
I just
In
want
the
to
last
give
days,
her
my
a
brain started
hug.
questioning if they're even real.
Luckily, Josefina started trying to find other victims because Sofani was still in contact with many of them, like Allison. But don't you ever underestimate the power of girls coming together to seek justice. Justice that becomes so much more important when you hear her terrible confession.
I admit it. I'm so sorry I played this role, and I'm so sorry I led a lot of people on, and I led you on by making up this whole page. And that's the truth.
Wait a minute, don't be fooled.
I may have f***ed up 5% of the 95%.
If you are sorry, how do you think you're gonna fix this?
I'm going on vacation. I'm going to go back to Australia for a bit, and then I'm going to go to Europe, and then I'm going to go probably South America, Central America, and just going to go see a few friends around the world and, just focus on getting back to the things I love, because I haven't had a break for 8 years, and it's time to have a proper break.
Our healer from hell needs a break. And that's not all. In the middle of this so-called apology, she goes and you can't even make this shit up.
They want me to come out with them, so we're just going to go play some pool.
Sofani went to play pool. There are other victims, by the way. Josefina found 6 other women whose stories are at least as messed up as the ones that you've heard. I need you to share this so that everyone knows about her evil actions. Sofani is the representation of so many other people you can't trust. Even though we can't know for sure what exactly she did, her victims will forever carry the trauma of her actions in their lives. This is someone who clearly doesn't have any remorse, which is one of the reasons why I decided to make this video. These are human beings with real emotions, not pawns on like a chessboard that you can just move around and play a little game and get this like kick from. This story hit home for me. It really did, because in my own way, I have been with someone that turned out to be an entirely different person than I thought I was dating. And it was a nightmare that still haunts me sometimes. It's not fun, trust me, not fun at all, to be in a position where you meet new people and your brain just immediately starts to analyze, what does this person want from me? It's not something you understand until and unless you've gone through it. Every day, many innocent people get hurt online. Share this video to remind everyone to be careful who you trust on the internet.